of NFL Primetime. You may know it as the Dan Campbell Show. We'll get to that a little later. Trey Wingo here with Ron Jaworski and Tim Hasselbeck. Sunday night, NFL Primetime have one simple core belief. We believe all the solutions to all the problems in the world can be fixed by Miami interim head coach Dan Campbell. Hashtag Campbell2016. Hey, don't take our word for it. Just take the Houston Texans. There's Dan Campbell, most inspiring coach in the history of the National Football League. Rashard Matthews had 3 catches for 75 yards against the Texans, including this 53-yard touchdown. Just 4 minutes into the game to give the Dolphins a 7-0 lead. Dan Campbell once figured out the Pythagorean theorem to 3,487 digits. More on Dan Campbell and his resurrection in Miami later on NFL Primetime.
NFL Primetime, presented by DraftKings.
Primetime rolls on, and so does the legend of Dan Campbell, who once figured out Rubik's Cube in 7 seconds. Dan Campbell has made Miami great again. He can make America great again. Campbell in 2016. I'm with you. Well, listen, why wouldn't you be? Jarvis Landry continues to be in awe of Dan Campbell. Look at this play from Jarvis Landry, a 50-yard strike.
Cut across the field. Anthony makes another move. And now the 25, the 20, the 10 comes back in. Unbelievable. Jarvis Landry. Wow.
Miami up 14 early. Dan Campbell doesn't fear sharks when he swims. Sharks fear Dan Campbell. Well, Sunday we had 3 teams. Look, we should say right now there is no truth to the rumor that Dan Campbell is being courted by both the Republican and Democratic parties to run in 2016. But they should both totally do it. Campbell in 2016. Back to the Texans-Dolphins game, his debut as the head coach. People just get excited to see Dan Campbell, and they get excited to see Lamar Miller. He had 236 total yards from scrimmage in the first half, including this 54-yard touchdown run that gave him a 28-0 lead. By the way, Dan Campbell didn't let Miller touch the ball in the second half. You know why? Because Dan Campbell has compassion. He has heart. Dan Campbell in 2016. We move on. So, if Dan Campbell were to run, what would be his slogans? Yes, Dan can. The power of Campbell compels you. Both of those, perhaps, would be fair. And, of course, back to the game and the man, the legend, Dan Campbell. The Dolphins are the first team in NFL history with 4 offensive touchdown plays of at least 50 yards in a single half, as the Miami Campbells destroy the Houston Texans 44-26. This Lamar Miller play the last. Dan, please inspire us all with your words of wisdom and fortitude.
It's not me. It's this team. These guys want it, and they're playing for one another. And to watch the transformation that they've made to themselves, and the ownership that they've begun to take, and the accountability to one another. It's just, I'm glad I'm a part of it. That's what I would tell you. It's. I said it last week. It's impressive. It's inspiring, and we got some really good guys in this locker room. We got a hell of a staff too, by the way.
That's right, you do. Starting with you, Dan Campbell. As for Ryan Tannehill, had a lot of help from his receivers, who gained 248 of his 280 passing yards after catch, the most they've had in a game in the last 10 seasons. Overall, he completed 18 of 19 while averaging the shortest pass distance of any quarterback in a game this season. But Jaws, there's no denying it. He hit on 25 straight passes over 2 games. That's an NFL record. What's been the difference that you see besides, Dan Campbell?
Yes, Dan can. And he can make conceptual changes, and that's what he's did with the Miami offense. In the first 4 games, they were under center only 12% of the time. The last 2 games, under center 35% of the time. That gives the play-action pass game the opportunity to work. The power running game, an opportunity to work. And the play-action pass game right now is very effective. Here, you'll see Tannehill under center. There's the mesh point, the play action. Freezes the linebackers, freezes the safeties. Big cushion to throw from in the pocket. And you see the beautiful throw. And I love the run after the catch. Your quarterbacks love the yards after the catch. Tannehill under center yesterday. 4 for 4, 110 yards. Those are big numbers. Here, a gimmick gadget play. Look at the eyes of the Texan defenders. They think it's a reverse. No, it's not a reverse. A little trick of football. Lamar Miller in space. You get the explosive plays. So yes, Dan Campbell has made substantive changes in the conceptual way that they run their offense. And I'll tell you, when you're under center, those power running games become part of what you do. Of course, then, when you're running football, play action pass game, it's easy.
Absolutely. By the way, Campbell's Dolphins have scored 82 points in the first 2 games. That's the most by any head coach in his first 2 games in 26 years in the National Football League. Campbell effect. Then, of course, there is more bad